Hey everybody, it's Tina here, and in this masterclass I am going to show you how to once and for all banish the butterflies, say goodbye to public speaking nerves, and to become a really confident speaker. So I know your time is absolutely valuable, so this isn't going to be one of those webinars which is full of a long hero's journey kind of story followed by a huge pitch. This is going to be jam-packed with valuable information, and it's not going to have a massive long sales pitch at the end. I'm going to tell you how you can get more information, but I promise, hand on heart, that's just going to take 5 minutes of your time, and by then I think you'll want to know more about it anyway. So let's get into it. The other thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to tell you to shut down your Facebook and your Twitter and all the other distractions, because I know that you're going to find this so valuable that you're going to want to naturally pay attention anyway. So let's get into it, and I hope you enjoy the training. Okay, so what are we going to cover in this workshop? Well, first of all, we're going to be looking at why people are so afraid in the first place. I'm going to run through my poise method of overcoming fear. I'm going to give you some actual techniques right here and today for breaking the pattern of being afraid. And I'm going to give you some tricks for short-term confidence that you can implement absolutely immediately. I'm also going to dispel some of the myths that have been holding you back up until now. And this is an interactive masterclass, so you're going to have to do some work. I promise you, if you master these, you will never, ever again suffer with nerves in the same way as you're doing right now. So talking about as you are right now, let's measure right now how you feel about speaking in public. So on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is extremely bad and 10 feels extremely good, I want you to write down the number that represents how you feel about speaking right now. So go ahead, grab a bit of paper and write that number down, because we're going to come and compare this at the end of this masterclass. And my wish is that if you follow the exercises, that you are going to have increased that number. So in order to measure that, we need you to write it down right now. So write your number down. Right, let's have a look then at why are we afraid. Oh my goodness, there are so many reasons why we are afraid of public speaking. For a start, it is listed as the #1 fear in the world, and there's good reason for that. I don't have time to go into all of the reasons, but one of the things I do want you to understand right now is that you are not alone. The reasons stem from historical, where we've been brought up with the idea that speaking in front of crowds is just horrendous. So there's a kind of natural thing that we almost inherit. So everybody says it's something to be fearful of, so therefore we're naturally afraid of it. Also, what you've got to think of is the dynamics of what it's like when you're on stage, perhaps facing a bunch of people. Now, the thing is, you've got you and them, and there's more of them than there are of you. And again, there's this inbuilt thing. It makes it's almost like, well, their army's bigger than mine. It kind of goes way back. It's a kind of inbuilt thing in the reptilian part of our brain. So when we feel outnumbered, we automatically feel threatened, and we're facing that way. Everybody else is facing the opposite way, and that just feels uncomfortable in itself. Then, of course, you've got the situation when you're on a stage, and it doesn't matter if this is a big stage or whether you're just in a room, or even when you're not in a room at all, but you're speaking online. It all follows the same principles, and that is that we are in the limelight. And we were told as we were tiny, growing up, nobody likes to show off. So automatically when you put yourself in the limelight, as you inevitably do when you're speaking, we get these negative associations with, I'm hogging the limelight, I'm showing off, it's not nice, people are not going to like it. On top of that, ever since we were little, we were told, good boys and girls are seen and not heard. So we grow up with having our voices squashed. We're not encouraged a lot of the time to express our voices because we're always told sit down, shut up. You know, that's the way that it is. There are more of the psychological reasons that I don't have time to go into in this masterclass. But trust me, there are lots of reasons why. So you're not inadequate, you're not alone, or you're not broken or anything like that. The feelings that you have are normal. And in fact, I would say pretty much 95% of people have had this fear at some point or other, and they've needed to overcome it. So let's look at why you need to overcome this fear in the first place. Now, you've probably got a lot of different reasons why you might be needing to overcome the fear of public speaking. If you don't need to, then fine. You know, let's face it, you probably, you know, if you've got no intention of ever speaking, then you don't need to overcome the fear of it. But if you're on this masterclass, I'm guessing you do have a very good reason for wanting to overcome this fear. So I want you to really think about why. So maybe for you, it's because right now you're really feeling anxious, you get extreme nervousness, that when you have to speak in front of people, that you just shake, your hands shake. It might be that you get that horrible feeling in the pit of your stomach. It might well be that you're okay when speaking to, you know, individuals, but not once you have a bunch of people in front of you. For some people, it's like even just hearing your name announced, that you just feel paralyzed with fear. You know, you get embarrassed. You might kind of be fearing messing up. You get that horrible sensation of panic. And that's not a very nice feeling. So what you want instead, I'm guessing, is to be able to get up and speak confidently, to sound professional and confident, to be able to deliver your message and to get your message across clearly, to feel relaxed, to be heard and understood. Maybe it's that you need and want to convince people. Perhaps, you know, you want to do some fundraising, or maybe you work for a company in sales and you have to go networking and telling, you know, people about what you do. It might be that you've got your own business, in which case it's absolutely crucial to overcome the fear so that you can get out there and talk about your business, so that you can secure more and profitable business. So there's lots of different reasons. So I want you to write down why you have the reason to, you know, what is your reason? What is your big why for overcoming the fear of speaking in public? The next thing to think about is, well, first of all, learning to do it is definitely going to help you. And I'm going to talk a bit more about that later. But the other question is when. Okay, so when are you going to do this? Well, how long have you been suffering? How long have you been struggling with this? And why would you want to wait another day? Okay, so the best time to plant an oak tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So don't let this grab hold of you anymore. Let's say goodbye to these fears and let's say hello to moving forward confidently. And this masterclass is going to help you massively. I'd like to also inspire you as to why learn from me. And you might think, yeah, it's all right for you, Tina. You know, you're okay. You've been doing this, you know, for ages. You're good at it. You're confident. You don't know what it's like. Yeah, well, let me tell you, I do know what it's like. I was not always confident like this. Yes, right now, my speaking is not a problem for me. I enjoy it. I absolutely get a thrill from speaking in front of people, whether that's on a big stage or even like now in front of a camera. I've been pretty successful at it, and I've been highly paid just for getting on stage for half an hour. However, it wasn't always like that. I used to struggle big time, even on those horrible corporate training courses where it goes around the room and you have to wait your turn to introduce yourself and where you're from and why you're on the course and all that kind of stuff. I used to feel sick. My face and neck would get red and blotchy, and my voice would just come out all like shaky and weak and, you know, and wishy-washy, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it. So I've overcome the fear, and I did it the hard way. I actually ended up, it took me a long time because I did it the hard way. But I can tell you now that this masterclass is going to help you massively. So first of all, let me tell you what doesn't work. There's some rubbish advice out there. Oh my goodness, there's some rubbish advice out there. I'm sure somebody at some stage has told you, oh, just imagine your audience on the toilet. So imagine your audience, they're all naked. I can't think of anything that's going to send me running for the hills more than either of those two visual images. It's not a good thing to have in your head when you're trying to focus on what it is that you have to say. So let's dispel that myth. No, that doesn't work. I'm going to give you something which is way more helpful than that. Other things that don't work, just get out and do it. And the more you do it, the more you'll get confident. Yeah, to a degree, but without the other things that go along with that, it can actually end up doing more harm than good. So yes, at some point you have to go out and do it. And when you do it and you do it well, you'll grow in confidence. But there's some other things which are all part of the same jigsaw puzzle. So I'm going to be talking a bit more about that as we go through the presentation. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be working through the 5 points of my star that I've got here, P-O-I-S-E, and I call it poise because this is actually more important than confidence per se. You can actually have a feeling of slight nervousness inside, but if you can conduct yourself with extreme poise, the audience, number one, will never know, and actually that's where you'll start feeling better because you'll see the audience has trust in you and belief in you. So let's go through these one at a time. So the first step, the P, is all about how you're approaching the speaking event in the first place. If you don't do this, it's actually very likely to go pear-shaped for you. It's not going to go down too well, and that's going to destroy your confidence. Okay, so the first P is preparation. You have to prepare. You have to know what you're doing. You have to know what you're saying. Don't talk about something you know nothing about. Don't try and wing it. Once you've got to a level where you do know what you're doing, you know you kind of speak all the time, you can professionally wing it. But if you suffer from nerves, it's just really, really not going to help you. I'd like to tell you a little story about a guy that worked with me called Ian. Now, Ian was working for a company and he had an amazing job. He was traveling all the way around the world and he was closing like billion-dollar deals. You know, it was a massive corporation that he was working for. And then his job role changed and they wanted him to go and deliver presentations to conferences where the distributors were going to be gathering. And he was about to chuck his job in because he didn't want to do it. It was just too terrifying for him. So he started working with me, and, you know, when I kind of found out what the stakes were, I thought, crikey, we got to get this guy, you know, really comfortable. I dread to think the salary that he would have given up if he chucked that job in. Anyway, we started working together. He overcome his fear. And one day in one of our sessions, I asked him how he got on because he had recently spoken at a conference. And I wanted to know how it had gone, you know, what were the lessons he took from it and all the rest of it. And he said, do you know what? It really didn't go that well. And I was surprised because he'd been doing so well up until that point. And so I said, well, why? What went wrong? And he said, well, I know where I went wrong. He said, I got blasé and I didn't prepare. At which point I actually started cheering because, and he couldn't understand. He said, but it didn't go well. Why are you cheering? And I said, well, first of all, just think about what you just said there. Can you ever imagine that before you started working with me, you'd be telling me that you got blasé about getting on stage in front of a few hundred distributors? And it was like, no, I didn't. But the lesson from that was that it doesn't matter how well things are going for you, you have to prepare. If you don't do your preparation, you're not going to perform that well. If you don't perform that well, your confidence is going to drop and you might not even realize why. Okay, so preparation is really, really key. All right, so the next step, if you don't do this, now this is perhaps one of the most important parts of the whole picture. And if you don't do this, you are going to struggle big time. Even if you've got all the other points of the start, this one can hold you back. And this is that you need to oust the current limiting beliefs that you have about speaking and your ability to speak and how you feel about speaking. Now, this is a massive topic, and I don't have time to go into this in a lot of depth today. But what I want you to do is just think about when you get those horrible feelings about speaking, what are the beliefs that you're holding about it? We talked a little bit at the very beginning about where the fear comes from, and a lot of that is beliefs based. So one of the things that you need to do is work on ousting those unhelpful limiting beliefs. So like I said, don't have time to go into all of that today, but one of the things I am going to do today is give you some tricks to give you temporary relief, and then I would strongly suggest that if this is something that's holding you back, that we look into that further for you. Okay, so the next one, again, now this was a massive aha moment for me. This next one is something which I had completely overlooked when I first started going out there and having to speak myself. And this is all about intelligent learning. So the fact that you can speak, the fact that you can have a conversation with somebody does not mean that you have the skills and the knowledge of how to present. Okay, it's different. Presenting is like a skill. And like any other skill, it has to be learned. If you don't have the skill, and this is where I object to those people who just say, yeah, go out and do it. Yeah, just go out and do it. It's a bit like if I told you to just get on a horse and gallop across the moors, what's likely to happen? Well, you're likely to fall off and hurt yourself. And what's that going to do? Is that going to encourage you to try again? Not really. You're more likely to find any reason not to do it. Speaking is a skill. And presenting is a skill, not as in speaking in a conversation. Yeah, we were taught to do that when we were little, but actually presenting and putting a presentation or a speech together is a skill, and you need to learn it like any other skill. So my big advice here is to do exactly that. Don't just go out there and try and wing it and figure it all out, you know, by yourself. There are a million different ways that you can do this. You can get books, you can go join speaking clubs, you can do a million different things. You can go on courses. I mean, like for me, how did I learn it? Well, I learned it the hard way by trial and error. I had to for my job. So I kept getting on the horse and falling off and getting on the horse and falling off. And I'd like to share a story actually about one of the getting on the horses and falling off that happened to me. And you may have seen some of my emails where I share the story of I was on stage. If you can just picture the scene, I'm on stage in front of a big bunch of Royal Marines, and it's theatre style, and I'm giving a financial presentation. For a start, it was really intimidating because they were in a horseshoe all around me. They were in these kind of tiered theatre style settings, so they were all looking down on me. I can't tell you how intimidated that made me feel. Plus, I didn't have the skill really at what I was doing. I was bumbling through, and then I said something really awkward. I was talking about life insurance, and I said, okay, so now we're going to talk about protection. At which point, they all started kind of giggling to themselves. So they weren't like laughing out loud with me. They had obviously been thinking about, you know, other forms of protection, and they started to kind of like just giggle away to themselves. So they were sniggering, as we call it in the US. I believe anybody from the States calls it snickering, but that's what they were doing. And you can just imagine, I could have died. I went red, I stammered, I just kind of realized what I'd said, but didn't know what to do, how to cover it up. My inexperience at that time was just like, I just wanted to die. So I scarpered through the rest of the presentation and left as fast as I could. And I was supposed to stick around in case anybody wanted to talk to me afterwards, but I didn't. I just fled. It was awful. But I did go away and think, and I started, my learning was trial and error. And I thought, okay, what can I do to improve that next time? How can I, because I had to give another presentation to a different bunch of Marines the following week. So I thought, okay, yeah, I have to talk about protection. How am I going to deal with the fact that they're going to think of other forms of protection? So I didn't want to be embarrassed again. So one of the things I did was I went, right, I've got to meet this head on. So what I've got to do is think that's what they're going to be thinking. So I've got to be brazen here. So I went on stage, and when I got to that point of the presentation, I said, right, so now we're going to talk about protection. And I'm not talking about your sex life here, gentlemen. I am talking about something which is way more important than that. I'm talking about your money. And now at this point, they laughed, but now they were laughing with me and not at me. You know, I looked them in the eye, I hit them with it straight on, and that actually got their respect. And you know what? It really increased my confidence. Okay, so yes, you can learn the way I did by trial and error, or you can learn the smart way, which is by, you know, working with somebody, reading all the right books, joining the courses and all the rest of it, which is going to help you. And that actually is also kind of fits into preparation. Okay, so the next time I was more prepared. All right, so the next thing is S. Now, this is something which is going to make a massive difference to how you feel. And this is what I'm going to be focused on mainly for this masterclass. So basically, this is all about managing your state. Confidence or not having confidence is just your state. It's how you feel in the present moment, and it is a snapshot. So we have control over how we feel. We can control the parts of the brain that send the signals to the rest of our body and tell us how we feel. So let's have a little look at this in a bit more detail in a moment. But finally, the last E is exposure. And yes, you do have to go out there and practice it, but not until you've got all these other pieces of the jigsaw puzzle. Once you've got these other pieces of the jigsaw puzzle, you go out and yes, then you get practice, you get experience, you get exposure, and then your confidence is going to massively increase. So let's look at the S, the state management. There are 3 secrets to immediate confidence when it comes to state management. The first is where you put your focus. The second is the language you use. And the third is working with your physiology. The first thing that we've got to do is break the pattern. We've got to stop the habits that you have been building when it comes to speaking over the past goodness knows how many years that you've been carrying this fear. So the first thing to do is to break the pattern. So we need to let's look at the first one, which is your focus. Okay, so the first pattern interrupt is to stop being afraid of what could go wrong and focus instead on what goes right. Because the minute you say, oh my goodness, I've got to do a presentation, you start thinking of all the things that can go wrong. Stop. As soon as you start your thoughts going in that direction, you have to literally shout stop at yourself and switch your focus to the things that could go right. I guarantee you, if you focus on all the things that could possibly go wrong, you are never in a million years going to feel confident. It's impossible. If you're just focusing on looking like a complete fool, forgetting everything, being booed off stage, being highly embarrassed, no way in a million years you can force yourself to feel good. And I bet you up until now that's what you've been doing. You've been focusing on the things that could go wrong, and you're trying to tell yourself that it's all going to be brilliant. And guess what? It doesn't work. And that's because your underlying focus is not in a good place. So you've got to start focusing on what can go right. For a start, most of the things that you are afraid of going wrong are never going to happen. Secondly, even if they do, they're not all going to happen, but you'll survive it anyway. You're not going to die. And there's a lot of things that I don't have time to go into today, but there's a lot of things in my course that I'm going to tell you about later that can really help you with this. But for now, I want you to just stop thinking of what can go wrong. All right. So if you take nothing else away from today's masterclass than this, I guarantee you will start to feel more confident. So just start focusing on what can go right. Start focusing on the audience loving your message. Start focusing on the round of applause at the end. Start focusing on the smile. Start focusing on people saying, I really enjoyed that, thank you. Yeah, focus on all that stuff instead, and you'll start feeling massively better. And guess what happens? When you do start focusing on the good gets even better, because it's kind of like that virtuous circle. So when you start focusing on the good, you do give a better performance. The feedback you get gets better, so you become more confident. So the next time you speak, you're starting at a higher level of confidence to start with, and it just keeps getting better and better and better. Okay. So the second thing is language. We've done focus. Let's look at language. Okay, so language. Words can hurt, so it's really important that you choose them wisely. The words that are going on in your head, the language that you're using, is going to have a massive impact on how you're feeling. Now, I'm guessing that the kind of language you're using with yourself is, oh my God, I'm terrified. I am absolutely petrified. I think I'm going to die. I'd rather an asteroid hit the building than having to give this presentation. I'd rather have a tooth pulled. No, you wouldn't, all right? But the trouble is, when you use that kind of language, the brain sends messages to your body that responds to it. It's again ingrained, it's in the reptilian part of the brain, and as soon as you start using that kind of language, it sends a message to your body, and your body prepares for fight or flight, and the adrenaline kicks in and you start to feel dreadful. Okay, so what I tell people is that you need to switch your language. Now, here's one thing that a lot of people tell you which doesn't work. Now, this might work for a small percentage of people, but the vast majority of people that I work with, and certainly for myself, this just didn't work. So you feel horrendous. You're using all that language, and what people tell you to do is to just tell yourself you feel brilliant. Tell yourself, I am dynamic, I am unstoppable. Look in the mirror and roar and all that kind of stuff. There's only one problem with that. The minute that you say, I am feeling supremely confident, that little voice, you know the one I mean, the gremlin that sits on your shoulder and whispers in your ear, it says, rubbish. So as soon as you say, I'm feeling supremely confident, it goes, rubbish. No, you're not. And the big thing is, you do not believe it. And that's why it doesn't work. So you have to change your language to something you can believe in. So instead of saying I am supremely confident and not believing it, from now on you have to ban the extreme use of words like terrified or petrified and all of that kind of thing. But what you can do is say, all right, yeah, I feel a bit nervous here, but do you know what, it's going to be okay. Already, by just toning down the language, you're not going to feel as bad as you did before. And this time you can believe it, because you're still acknowledging, yeah, okay, I am a bit nervous here. Yeah, I feel a little bit, you know, anxious. But you know what? It's going to be okay. And you can believe that. So when you believe that, you give a better performance. It goes okay. And you think, wow, actually, that was good. I enjoyed that. I did it. So next time you can go, yeah, this is fine. I can do this. And gradually you can move yourself forward until you get to a point where you go, I can do this, I'm dynamic, I'm unstoppable, and it's going to be awesome. And now you do believe it, because you've gone on a journey. Okay, sometimes that leap is too big. So don't try and leap it all in one go. Go on the stepping stones, cross the bridge. Okay, so but your words are really, really vitally important to you. So that's language, okay? We do not use the terrified language anymore. We use the good language, okay? So let's now have a look at physiology. All right, now, what does this physiology tell you, okay? Obviously, this is the kind of stuff that we do when we are not feeling great. And even the guy at the bottom on the right here, he's kind of smiling, but it looks forced. It looks, you can see in his eyes, I'm not enjoying this at all, okay? The physiology in our body is connected to what goes on in the brain, and then it becomes a cycle. So if your physiology is wrong, then what's going to happen is it sends a message to the brain that says, not good, don't like this. So then the brain then sends out all the horrible chemicals and the fight or flight adrenaline stuff that actually makes you feel even worse. So it compounds it. So what we've got to do is get you practicing adopting good physiology. So if you, and what I want you to do, I told you that this was going to be an interactive workshop. So I want you to try something with me. I want you to stand up and I want you to imagine that you are in a speaking situation that is taking you way out of your comfort zone. For some people, that might be speaking in front of 6 people. For some people, you'd need to be imagining yourself in front of 60. For some, you need to imagine yourself in front of 6,000. And for some, you might need to imagine yourself in front of 60,000. Whatever it is that's going to take you way out of your comfort zone, I want you to adopt that physiology. So stand up, and generally what happens, and just to exaggerate the point, I want you to put your feet together. I want you to kind of lean forward at the tummy and put your hands in front of you, almost as if you're going to hug yourself. But perhaps clasp your hands or your wrist or something in front of you. Roll your shoulders forward, because this is what we do unconsciously when we're in a situation that we don't like. It's almost like we feel the need to protect ourselves. Okay, look down, because a lot of the time, you know, we kind of look down at the floor if we're not feeling good. And if you're on a stage, it actually doesn't help, because you're naturally looking down there anyway. And what I want you to do with this physiology is try and force yourself to feel great. Don't change anything, okay? Use some of the horrible facial expressions that we've got on the computer here, whether that's biting your lip, looking concerned. Okay, try and force yourself to feel brilliant. Is it working? I doubt it. Okay, so shake that off, because that's not a nice feeling. What I want you to do instead is we're going to adopt a good physiology. So what I want you to do now is put your feet underneath your hips so that you're nice and grounded with your weight equally distributed on both of them. Put your shoulders back and down, and open up, stand up nice and straight with your shoulders back and down, so that opens up your diaphragm, and that helps you to breathe more easily. Take a couple of nice big deep breaths, look up and smile, and just relax your arms and just shake your shoulders and smile. Now, how does that feel compared to before? I'm sure it feels much, much better. Okay, cool. Now you can sit down again now if you want to, but I just wanted to show you the difference in how you feel there. And in a moment, we're going to put all these 3 things together and show you the real difference and how you can change your state in a moment. I just want to explain though what's happening when you adopt good body posture. Okay, like any of these, and you got yours truly there, yeah? Just adopting that nice posture, it makes the world of difference to how you look. It makes a massive amount of difference to how you feel, and it is huge. Okay, and just a couple of things to add before we put the whole 3 together. With your physiology, it's a knock-on effect, because if you've got your bad physiology, your brain is sending the wrong signals to your body, so it starts producing stuff that's not good. And like, for example, if your shoulders are slumped forwards and you're leaning forward very slightly, you're cutting off diaphragm. If you cut off a diaphragm, you can't breathe properly. That means that you can't get the oxygen around the body. That means you start feeling numb. It means you start getting pins and needles. It means you start shaking. The oxygen doesn't get through to your brain, which means that you're much more likely to go blank and forget your words. Okay, so even a very small thing like opening up your diaphragm and being able to breathe properly is going to make a huge difference, because that is what goes on within the body. Okay, so it's really, really important. So let's play with all 3 and anchor them all together. So what I want you to do now, again, to show you the difference, I want you to stand up. I want you to adopt the posture of somebody who is terrified. So put your feet close together so that you feel all wobbly. Roll your shoulders forward. Put your arms, you know, kind of clasped in front of you. And now what I want you to do is to put your focus on everything that's going to go wrong. So start thinking of all the things that are likely to go wrong in your presentation, all the horrors that could possibly happen, and focus on the worst possible outcome. At the same time, I want you to start using negative language in your head. Oh my God, this is terrible. I'm going to die. I am petrified. Oh my God, I'm so terrified. I just want to run away and crawl underneath a rock. It's horrendous. I hate this. Okay, so if you've got the bad physiology, you've got the bad language, and you've got the bad focus, while you're like that, without changing any of it, try and force yourself to feel supremely confident. It is never going to happen. So shake that off, because it's not a good feeling. Not a good feeling at all. So now what I want you to do is adopt the posture that I told you about just now. Feet just underneath your hips, sort of nice and comfortably apart. Your weight evenly distributed. Nice soft knees, not locked. Shoulders back and down so that you're standing up straight, so that your diaphragm is open. You can breathe. Relax your arms. Put your head up and smile. Now focus on the happiest day of your life. It could be your wedding day. It could be your divorce day. Just focus on happy times. Focus on everything going well with your presentation. Focus on the best possible outcome. Focus on the impact that you're going to have on the audience. Focus on the message and how it's going to positively impact upon them. Focus upon the round of applause and the great feedback you're going to get at the end. And now use really positive language with yourself. This is wonderful. I'm making a difference. They love me. This is superb. This is going really well. I feel great. And now notice how you're feeling. Take that feeling and magnify it. Soak it up. Feels good, doesn't it? Now amplify it even more. Just take that good feeling that you've got. Focus on the best outcome. Focus on everything going really well. Focus on just being brilliant and just basking in the glory. And now what I want you to do is take that feel-good feeling and anchor it in some way that you can recall it instantly in the future. For some people, that is playing with a ring or touching your thumb and your middle finger. For some people, it's just a conscious effort to just go there and think about it. Some people use what they call the circle of excellence. So you can step into it. Think of the spotlight, and as you step into the spotlight, all those lovely good feelings are instantly engulfing you. How good does that feel right now? Okay, brilliant. Now, what I want you to do is now write down how you feel having gone through that exercise. 1 feeling extremely awful and 10 feeling extremely good. I want you to write down that number and compare it with the number that you wrote down at the beginning of this masterclass. So now let me ask you a couple of questions. First of all, what would it be worth to you to say goodbye to the nerves and say hello to being able to speak confidently every time? Now, I've just given you a few little technique there to change your state in the moment. But what if you got to a point where you actually didn't even need to do that? What would it be worth to you to get rid of feeling that you would rather have an asteroid hit the building, to get rid of feeling sweaty palms, shaking voice, knock knees, just wanting to collapse in a heap? What would it be worth to you to say goodbye to the panic? And what would it be worth if you can, speak confidently. Just imagine that you are able to go out and speak confidently wherever, whenever you want to. What difference would that make to your business or your job or your life? Just imagine that you're in that situation. What would that feel like and what would that be worth? So does it make more sense to continue trying to figure all of this out on your own, or get help from someone who's already gone from fear to confidence when speaking? So let's recap what we've talked about then. P is preparation. Making sure that you don't wing it is going to help you to feel confident. O is the importance of ousting any unhelpful limiting beliefs. I is make sure that you're doing your learning intelligently and not just trying to wing it and hope that you get great results. It is a skill, and it's a skill that needs to be learned and practiced. S is the ability to manage your state, and that's what we've been focusing on in this last 15 minutes or so. And then E, yes, exposure. But you can't just go out there and do it like they tell you without the other 4 pieces of the jigsaw puzzle. Okay, so that's what we've covered today. But what if you can get a lot more detail and in-depth training on all of this stuff? So I'd like to tell you about my Speaking with Confidence course, and you can get started right now with this, and it's only $97. Now, I'm not telling you it's only available for the next 2 hours or any of that nonsense. That's the price. It's $97. It's worth probably way more. If you go back to saying, what would it be worth to you? Yeah. If I remind you, what would it be worth to you to say goodbye to those fears and say hello to confidence and the ability to get out there? I'm sure it's worth way more than $97. But let me tell you what's in there. First of all, we've got all the stuff that you're going to need just to get you started. I've also got an electronic of my book. I've written a book which is available on Amazon to buy. That's all included within the course. That's going to go back to, that covers a lot of the psychology as to where the fears come from, so that you feel justified. It's not your fault. That's the way that it is. Then we're going to look at those beliefs. Okay, there's a whole section on ousting your limiting and unhelpful beliefs, and we're going to make sure that those beliefs are changed forever. Then we're going to start looking at your confidence, how to actually build your confidence up. There's exercises in there, there's videos, there's relaxation tips and all the rest of it. Of course, part of your confidence is preparation. There's a whole section in there on, you know, just what to prepare. There's your content, how to put your content together, your delivery, how to deliver it, how to use notes so that, you know, you're not holding a great big sheet of A4 which is going to shake, but the best way of using notes, and how to prepare for the big event itself. Now, what I want to do is tell you that, reassure you that it looks like there's an awful lot of stuff here, and there is a lot to it. However, I've made this simple to follow and easy. It's not overwhelming. Okay, I've really kept this so that it's that first stage of the the first stepping stone across the chasm. Okay, this is something which is going to be easy for you to consume and easy for you to implement as well. After the big event, there's the aftermath. You know, okay, so how do I deal with the after effects? How do I give myself the best possible evaluation to make sure that, number one, I get better, and number two, I increase my confidence? And then I've got some assignments for you, because knowledge on its own is useless. You need to implement the knowledge. So I've got a couple of assignment based modules for you. One is on the virtual world, so you can build your confidence through doing Facebook Lives. And the other one is assignments for speaking in the real world, so out in front of real people, you know, in the real room, as it were. And then there's some ideas of where you take this next so that you get onto that second stepping stone. On top of all that, I've got a bonus for you for anybody who run their own business or works for a company where you're having to get out networking and promote the company that you work for. There's a video in there all about your elevator pitch, your infomercial, and how you present your business. So I told you I wasn't going to spend longer than 5 minutes telling you about all of this stuff. I don't need to. If you have a fear, you don't want to continue with those fears, and you want to say goodbye to them, and you want to move forward. And if basically you've liked and enjoyed the masterclass, then imagine what you're going to get out of the actual entire course. So the course is $97. There's a button just below this video. So if that's for you, just hit the button, put your details in, and I look forward to seeing you in there, and you will get the all of the content and the information that's in this course immediately. At the very least, one of the things I'd like you to do is to join my Facebook group if you're not already a member. There's a button just below as well to come and join my Speaking Secrets Facebook group, where I give lots of training in there and lots of information on speaking in all kind of situations. So that's it from me. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day or evening, depending on what time it is that you're watching this and whatever part of the world you're in. My biggest wish for you is to get speaking and step into the spotlight, bring your unique talents to the world so that you can share your message. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the training. As I said, my biggest wish for you is that you say goodbye to feeling like absolute rubbish when you're required to give a presentation or a speech, and so that you can move forward with confidence. If you choose to join me in the training, I love to have you in there. I'm improving it all the time. I would love to know also how you enjoyed this masterclass. So please do go over to my Facebook group and put some comments in there, put #masterclass, and then just tell me what you thought of the masterclass. And the big thing that I want you to do is, again, look at the numbers. How did you feel before you started the masterclass? What was the number that you put on how you felt after the exercises that we did? And just think where that number could be if you come and join me in the course, and at the very least if you come and join the Facebook group. So that's it for me. I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye-bye.